Hello and welcome to this edition of Consciousness Raising Online. Good to see you, Clyde, as always. And hey, Dusty, good to see you too. All right. And here's the deal. I got a lot of information I'm gonna try and share in the next hour or so. And let me just put it like this: it's probably the most complex presentation I've ever tried to do, but I think it's also one of the most important that I've ever tried to do because it lays out what was done towards us in ways that we really don't understand totally. Um, but let's just say this two things. One is black people in the United States were the most targeted by the Russians and by Trump and them, and it's still being uncovered how much of a target black people were, and it demonstrates how important we are. And that's why I want to do this presentation so we get a better understanding of how important we are. They try to pretend like, oh, that's just nothing, it's just the blacks. No, when y'all see this information, you're gonna say, dang. uh, While we were looking at stuff like this graphic that's up here now, he Trump didn't meet but with black folks but a couple of times during the campaign. You see Omarosa over there on the left hand side. Um, but you know, it was we were led to believe that we really weren't that important. But the opposite is true. And what I'm going to show you in the next few minutes is probably going to blow your mind because we have all seen this stuff. The second thing that I think is very important is to understand that when the massive manipulation of black people is going on all throughout the internet, one of the places where, as far as I can tell, the least amount of manipulation, the least amount of propaganda, the least amount of the targeted the black folks that were targeted, where you found the least amount of that was at Desti.com. And I think that's because, number one, because of Desti and the way she designed and pushed this community to be, but also because of the range of people who have been part of the guardianship of Desti in seeking out or following up trolls and people who try to sneak in and do dirt. You'll see when you see some of the stuff that's coming up, you'll see we didn't see this in Desti. So that I think we can be proud of collectively, and especially proud of Desti and all the great folks who are moderators and folks who look out. um, okay, I see you tested. Okay, good. So the message is working. Okay. All right, Clyde, get your breakfast because you want to come back and see what I'm getting ready to show you in a few minutes. But I want to give you some information first. What we need to understand that, first of all, there's a phrase, there's a name of a company I want you to keep in your mind forever, really. It's called the Internet Research Agency. The Internet Research Agency, the IRA, not the Irish Republic of whatever, but the IRA, the Internet Research Agency. That is a Russian agency that specialized or specializes, because it still exists, even though some of the people got indicted by Mueller and the agency got indicted by Mueller. But They specialize in internet manipulation. Um, the graphic that you're looking at right now, you probably, if you saw that, you would say, "Oh, that's pretty." Okay, that's a Russian creation. Yeah. Um, they, this Internet Research Agency and some others, but primarily them, did what they did. They went after a lot of different people on the through the internet, but they specifically went after black people, and they went after us with a vengeance. And some would say that, well, I'll let the evidence show you for you to decide whether or not they were successful, whether they successfully manipulated black people into actions or non-actions that affected the election of 2016. I'm going to read you something here. I want you to understand this. For years, Russia has leveraged social media to wage a propaganda war with operations that initially targeted their own citizens and sphere of influence. In 2014, they broadened those operations to include the United States and ran a multi-year campaign to manipulate and influence Americans, exploiting social and political divisions. The scale was massive, reaching 126 million people on Facebook, posting 10.4 million tweets on Twitter, uploading 1,000 plus, actually it was 1,107 YouTube videos, and reaching over 20 million users on Instagram. Y'all think that's a joke? Ain't no joke. They were serious about what they were doing. Russia's IRA, that's the Internet Research Agency, activities were designed to polarize or further polarize the United States public and interfere in elections by one, campaigning for African American voters to boycott elections or follow the wrong voting procedures in 2016, and more recently for Mexican Americans and Hispanic voters to distrust U.S. institutions. Also, encouraging extreme right-wing voters to be more confrontational. What does that mean? It means when you see them right-wingers out there, they ready to fight. They went to events armed to the teeth. And also to spreading sensationalist, conspiratorial, and other forms of junk political news and misinformation to voters across the political spectrum. All right, I want you to watch this.
We've been investigating this for many months now, and for a while we had found no evidence of fake accounts linked to Russia running ads. And when we recently uncovered this activity, we provided that information to the special counsel. We also briefed Congress.
I think it's safe to say that we have traded a lot of documents with Facebook, and they have been incredibly helpful to us through this.
And this morning, I directed our team to provide the ads we've found to Congress as well.
There are ads that pop up high on your Twitter news feed. Americans have the right to know whether that is being generated by interest from Americans or is being generated by interest by activities of foreign powers.
Now, this is just beginning. I wanted to give you a little taste of this because so much of what they did was right in front of our faces, right in front of our faces. But I'm being serious that I want you to understand how important we are. The Internet Research Agency created media accounts under fake names on virtually every available platform. A major goal was to support Donald Trump, first against his Republican rivals in the presidential race, then in the general election, and then since his inauguration. Creating accounts designed to pass as belonging to Americans, the IRA spread its messages not only via Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but also on YouTube, Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, Vine, and Google Plus, and more. But the most prolific IRA efforts on Facebook and Instagram specifically targeted Black American communities and appear to have focused on developing Black audiences and recruiting Black Americans as assets. I'm going to show you how they did it too. In fact, one of the ways they did it, they used Gmail accounts with Black sounding names, American sounding names, and they paid unwitting Black people, actually Americans of all races, to do things like stage rallies and spread content. But there was a disproportionate pursuit of African Americans. This one that you're looking at, this graphic that you're looking at right now, it looks like something that you might give a second look to, right? Right? I think you agree to that, right? All right, now let's look at another one. Black Matters US. And in fact, check this one out. Would you buy Black Matters bag? $22. Okay. And there's another one that looks real, right? Black Matters. And here's the point I want you to understand is how many of us would see this Black Matters and think about Black Lives Matter, okay? This is their Black Matters community. Now, why am I showing you this? Because Black Matters is a made-up Russian propaganda machine. Black Matters. You're going to see more about them in a minute. But they were busy, y'all. They were busy, busy, busy. Let me see. Here's another one. Blacktivist. Blacktivist. Yes, this is another one that was totally a Russian made-up deal. Here's another one. Black Fist. And this one's really deep. I'm going to show you some stuff in a minute. Okay, Black Fist. And all of this don't just look legit. These are some of the domains that the IRA used. Black versus white.info, don'tshoot.com, donotShoot.us, blackmattersusa.com, blackmattersus.com, Blacktivist, Black to Live, Black Soul, Proud to be Black, Black for Black, Patriots US, But This, Do Deers, I'm San Bernardino.info, blackfist.pro, reportsecret.com, targeting Americans. Let's look at this. 75 different IRA affiliated pages and Instagram accounts ran ad targeting operations featuring 3,519 ads, videos, and images that drove users to like pages, follow Instagram accounts, join events, and visit websites. These ads cross-promoted pages, creating a web of content and the illusion of legitimacy and popularity. The ads reinforce simultaneous messages to defined audiences. The majority of the targeting focused on African American communities. A majority of the ads achieved substantially higher click-through rates than most Facebook ads. And according to advertising benchmark, blah, 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 the average click-through rate for Facebook across all industries as of August 2018, 1,182 of the 1,306 unique ads in the data set provided by Facebook, 90% that had some spend had a click-through rating higher than 0.9%. All it means is that they were doing a lot of stuff. Let me show you what I mean. And I know it might seem like a lot of information, that a lot of statistical stuff, but I want you to get an idea of how deep this went. This is the detected audience segments on Facebook, the total spend, impression, and clicks. You see what's at the top of the list? African American politics and culture. Okay? Number of ads purchased, 841. Okay? Black identity and nationalism, 246. Let me scroll down here. And you look through them and you see that they did a lot with black folks. Just unbelievable. Conservative politics and culture, 166. Internet culture, 165. Latin American culture, 143. But if you notice, yeah, between African American politics and culture and black identity and nationalism, that's over 1,000 ads purchased. Okay? The top Facebook, let me pull that up so I can see it better. the top 20 internet research agency Facebook pages sorted by the number of likes. Check this out. Blacktivist, number of likes, 4,600,000. Number of shares, 4,800,000. Numbers of comments, 500,000. Black Matters, 1,333,000 number of likes. Number of shares, 1,700,000, almost 1,800,000 shares. Woke Blacks, okay? 454,000 likes, 490,000 shares. Pan-African Roots Move, 124,000 likes, 152,000 shares. Black Matters, 59,000 shares, 59,000 likes, 97,000 shares. Now, if you think this was not affecting us during all of this time from 2014 through the election, all right, and see, this part about the Instagram is just now really being understood, because some of the biggest users of Instagram is black folks. Now look at this, and the size of the circle tells you something. Blackstagram, see that? Blackstagram. Afro Kingdom, that's over here to the right in the kind of brownish. Black Matters. Sincerely Black, it's down, straight down from the middle at the bottom. Sincerely Black was it appeared to be a black female named Crystal. And I went and looked through her stuff. Crystal was busy. She gained a lot of followers, but she was a fictitious person. She was a creation of IRA. Black Business. Do y'all begin to see what I'm talking about? How much we were targeted? Whew. Facebook, Instagram, ad spending. Now this one is kind of interesting because I showed you that bag back a few minutes ago. They were selling stuff online. Here, look at this. Bonfire Funds is a site for creating custom t-shirts used by Black Matters. Represent.com sold custom shirts for Black Matters, Black for Black, Fit Black, Nefertiti's Community, Pan-African Roots, Williams and Calvin, Blacktivists, and Woke Blacks. The merchandise rings enable fundraising, brand building, and the collection of addresses and potentially credit card information. Meetup.com was the site used to organize black self-defense classes. I'll get to that in a minute. You see, they even got us to help pay for the stuff. They got us to help pay for it, y'all. All right, I'm almost through with this section. Ad strategy. Ads strategy. And this is basically just more of the same thing that they're telling us what they did. But here, the third bullet point. Women from 18 plus with interest in black economic empowerment and black enterprise were targeted. These categories did not exist for men. And I wondered, I said, why would they exclude black men? But they exclude us anyway. They exclude us all the time. Because the money in the black community is assumed to be made, and the majority made and decided on how it's going to be spent in terms of black women. Okay? Down to the last bullet point. The vast majority of engagement on all of the pages came from the organic content. Now, Dusty and some of the others experts can explain what that really means. Not the paid ads. The top Black Matters organic post had 200,000 plus engagements. All I know it means there was a whole lot of stuff going on with Black Matters. And it was hard for us to, in reality, to resist being affected by them because it looked real. Don't it look real? Look how they did. They would rebrand memes across pages. See, one of the things they figured out is that we like memes. Black folks love memes, and we like Instagram. We were crazy about Instagram. But they would use the same content on one site and then use it on another site. Yeah. They set up fake protests. Here's one here. Put it out there that this protest was going to be jumping off. This was an anti-Trump protest. Okay? And they actually had people go there. They're looking for the protest. They became the protesters. Didn't even realize that they had been used. Here's another one. This is a Black Unity March. This happened before the election. This was September 17th. You see what's down at the bottom? Blacktivists. Okay? And that was in Cleveland. That was in Cleveland. Here's one. I know you saw these. Yeah. Again, look at the logo over there. Black Matters. It's time for an independent Black political party. See, the Russians have been targeting Black people for a long time because they know that there's a lot of real racial tensions and alienation when it comes to Black people. They've been doing it for a long time. The IRA didn't create it, it just exploited it. But what is so deep is how well they exploited it. One of the things they did, see, you got people right now saying, well, it really didn't affect the election. But here's the reality. The Black voter turnout declined in 2016 for the first time in 20 years. And especially, check this out, lower Black turnout in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. What do we know about those states? Those are the states that went just barely for Trump in terms of electoral college. They knew what they were doing, y'all. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew it exactly. Here's another example. Now, this is the Black Lives Matter co-founder was giving this speech, but look who was promoting it, Black Matters. See, if we don't know, we think it's all hooked up together. We think that Black Matters is simply Black Lives Matters. And we went for that. Here's another one. This one was targeted specifically at Black women. Look at that. We can't argue with this. This is good, right? This is good. Light skins winning, brown skins winning, dark skins women, Black girls are winning, period. Okay? But way down in the corner, this is from Afro Kingdom. All right, here's another one, the Nefertiti community. It says, in the 1960s, 40% of Blacks had their own business, and 87% of Black families with two parents. Today, less than 7% of blacks own businesses, and only 25% of black families are two-parent. What changed? See, this is just simply to create what their objectives was this: to suppress the black vote, to depress the black vote, misdirection, confusion, nullification. Either to stay home. If you're not going to vote for Trump, then stay home, because your vote doesn't matter. If you vote for Bernie, if you vote for Hillary, it doesn't matter. You see? And that worked. How many of you all had debates or even arguments, particularly with younger black people who were hell-bent on saying, I'm not voting. Voting don't mean nothing. And even though you might have tried to persuade them to at least consider voting rather than sitting it out, how many of y'all heard them use the same language that it turns out these Russian trolls put out there targeted to young black people? They did some even worse stuff. This brother right here, you're going to see him in a minute. He's a martial artist, okay? And yeah, I'm gonna show you this how they did with this brother.
If you thought the Russians and their involvement ended with the election, authorities tonight say not so fast, that they are still hard at work. In fact, this evening, a new report about Russia's efforts to stir up racial conflict right now inside the United States. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross.
Hey, Black Matters US. Hey.
A stunning claim tonight about just who's behind the group promoted in this music video, Black Matters US. Congressional investigators say Black Matters US was actually set up by the Russians during the 2016 election to stir up racial tensions.
It's not fair. I don't think it's fair. Black Matters.
The St. Louis rapper who wrote the music for the video says he got Instagram messages from people he did not know asking him to write a song dealing with police brutality.
I had no clue that it was Russian or anything like that. No, sir. It messed me up.
All part of a sophisticated campaign that included Facebook ads, Twitter posts, and efforts to organize at least 2 big rallies, one against police brutality. U.S. investigators believe it was directed from this so-called troll factory in St. Petersburg, Russia.
It's a way to suppress votes and stoke fear at a level of sophistication that I don't think we appreciated at the time.
Investigators say the Russian factory also is behind these YouTube videos, first reported by the Daily Beast, aimed at black communities attacking Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton is not our candidate.
The speakers claim to be in Atlanta, but investigators think they may actually be people hired by the Russians in Africa. And the Russians remained busy even after the election. Another Russian group called Black Fist organized self-defense classes, supposedly for protection against the police. 5 American fitness trainers were hired to run them.
They pay me $320 for the month, 4 classes.
They're taking advantage of people who really care about the community.
Right. It's very sneaky. It's very sneaky. It's very underhanded.
And in fact, Brian, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions was asked today on Capitol Hill if he believes the U.S. is prepared for what the Russians continue to do.
Yes, David, he had a stark answer. Probably not, he said. We're not, he said. The midterm elections are just over a year away, and there is still no national strategy to deal with the issue, David.
Brian, you'll stay on it. If you thought the Russians and their involvement ended with the election, authorities tonight say not so fast.
Wow. And I ain't through. Because in a way we say, well, so they did this a little bit. No, they did this a lot. Again, this is, I guess, the landing page for Black Matters US. There's nothing here that would cause the average black person to think that this would be the Russians. What would make you think this was the Russians? It looks legitimate, and it's dealing with legitimate concerns of black folks. Okay, here's the brother that did the video. You know, and see, I can't get angry at the brothers who were doing this because, you know, they got a text message and it seemed like somebody cool enough said, hey, look, we're going to pay you to do a rap song about police brutality. I'd go for it, you know. And the brothers that did the self-defense classes, let me show you that here.
In January of this year, well after the presidential election, New York martial arts instructor Omowale Adewale says he was contacted by a group called Black Fist, saying it would pay him to hold free self-defense classes for members of the black community.
Did you ever think this is weird?
Yeah, a lot of times I thought it was weird.
Weird, but the money was good. $320 a month, paid direct through PayPal and Google Wallet, to teach just 4 classes, and Black Fist would promote it. What was also weird? No one from Black Fist ever showed up to meet him. His only communication was in text and faraway-sounding phone calls from this man named Taylor.
Yeah, hello, Wale. This is Taylor. I wanted to confirm the self-defense classes that we talked about the last time.
The digital trail suggests the contact on the phone was part of a Russian propaganda arm seeking to stoke racial tensions and disrupt the U.S. political system. CNN has confirmed the social media accounts connected to Black Fist are among the pages Facebook identified as coming from Russians, according to a source familiar with the matter. Links to those accounts appear on the Black Fist website. And Black Fist, which portrayed itself as an activist group seeking to empower black Americans, was likely developed inside the Russian troll factory in St. Petersburg, Russia.
They convinced you.
Yeah, I'd let that run a little bit extra because we need to understand how important we are. Our young people need to understand how important they are so that, number one, they will recognize what they can begin to recognize what they can do. And secondly, so that they understand that the future it belongs to them too. It don't just belong to the white kids. The future belongs to our black young people too. Now this graphic here, this is a real one. This is Black Lives Matters. But they confused us so badly. What'd you say, Clyde? Black folks not tuned into Destiny.com are simply not in the know the ledge. Yeah, you're right. But we need to understand. This is the Internet Research Agency building in St. Petersburg in Russia. Okay? We need to understand how important they are. They spent millions of dollars specifically targeting black people in order to get certain things accomplished. And it created confusion in our community. It created antagonism in our community. And it basically did work because, again, the black voter turnout was the lowest in 20 years. And particularly in those states I mentioned, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. They knew where to target, and they knew how. Sometimes they had our assistance without knowing. Sometimes they didn't even need our assistance. All they had to do was target us, and we would do the rest. We'd be beating each other up, you know. Now, as I close out, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to show you some of the some of the graphics that I had at the very beginning. As I close, I'm going to let them run through a bunch of them. And what I need you to understand is that every single one of these graphics were used by the Russians on one of their websites, or they were posted on Instagram, on Twitter, or they were Facebook posts. Every single one of the graphics you're getting ready to see. And some of them you'll probably recognize that you saw them too, but you never gave it another thought. You never thought that this was the Russians trying to influence you to click through, to buy something. They sold us t-shirts, they sold us bags, they sold us all kinds of stuff. You know, they took advantage of our blackness and our seeking. We were seeking to know, we were seeking to do, we were seeking to be relevant, but not knowing how valuable we are. Okay. All right. As always, this graphic right here about Sophia Stewart. She never won her lawsuit. She never won it. Another thing they were doing, they were spreading a lot of rumors. Okay, see now look at the graphic. Pan-African Roots Move. Nope, not real. That was a Russian plant. Pan-African Roots Move. Okay, I close out as always with no justice, no love, no peace. No, I'm sorry, no justice, no peace, no love. KNOW.